we're creative beings. We're meant to have ideas flowing through us all the time. Now, does it mean that we have to act on every single thing all the time? No. Now, what happens sometimes is you take action on all the ideas, which feels very scattering, and then nothing comes to fruition because you're kind of hopping around like a little popcorn ball or squirrel, dog chasing a squirrel, and nothing really lands that people are like, yes, I want that. Hello, hello, hello. I am Dr. Andrea Greiner.
And I'm Katie Corbin.
Welcome to the Dreams to Dollars podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs and professionals who are on their way to actualizing their dreams into reality.
Join us in this lighthearted and unique podcast where we talk about business, success, life, and building a deeper trust in God and the universe.
We are here to elevate the conversation and bring the magic to build your legacy.
We're excited for you to be here. Can't wait to dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're going to be talking today how to take ideas and make them profitable. So when we talk about ideas, your business starts with an idea. And we know that the idea tends to like drop in and then you're like, ooh, this is a good idea. I'm going to take this idea and create a business out of it. That's how all ideas really, or all businesses start, is actually with ideas. But how do you take an idea or multiple ideas and choose which one is the best and actually which one is going to make you the most profit over time that you also really like? Because we don't want to say like you're just taking an idea because that's, what you thought that would work. And then you like hate that idea and you hate doing the processes that actually lead you to profit. So we want you to think about, and most creative entrepreneurs, most dreamers, right, and doers, we don't have not a lot. We have too many ideas sometimes, actually. It's not like we don't have like, oh, I don't have any ideas. I don't know what to do. I don't have any creative processes going through my head right now. We actually have usually the direct opposite, where there's actually too many ideas and it's hard to actually choose which one to pick to begin creating profit or adding services, right, to your business. And we're starting, what is an idea at the base, right? Like what actually creates that idea? And usually most entrepreneurs that I talk to tend to find an idea from a passion, right? So when I started my business, I had a passion for health and wellness. And I really started it from the place of, I want to help people with their health. And I was passionate about that because I actually had a lot of health issues as a child. And I just didn't want to follow the allopathic route of just live with it. That's your choice. You just get
or medicate
with it. Right.
Live it.
Or medicate it. There's nothing wrong with medications to some degree, but it's, just cover it up and just live with it. So I had chose to take that, my own struggle and my own issues, and choose something differently for myself. And then that really turned into more passion around that idea of how can I take this thing that I know how to do and how can I make profit off of that? How can I create a business that helps other people and then also have a business that is running and has enough money and makes profit? So you can take an idea and you basically start to run with that idea, right? You start to run with that idea and go like, how am I going to utilize this idea? And how do I create actual business off of this idea? Now, the truth is once your business is starting to run, you may have like a bread and butter in your business with the first idea. But Andrea, what happens? And I know we deal with this a lot with clients. What happens when somebody has like, ooh, what about this idea? And ooh, what about this idea? And they almost like go like squirrely on the ideas. Like, how do we come back to focus and choose the idea that's really gonna be conducive to not only us, our clients, but also our profit overall, or our overarching theme?
Yeah. I think of this as like popcorn too, right? Like popcorn popping and there's like idea. And then it's also like the dog and the squirrel, like squirrel. And so like energetically, like just feel what that does. It's like way out. Now, does that mean all of those ideas are bad or wrong? Well, first of all, there's no bad or wrong. They're all great ideas. So I really like to write all those ideas down. because sometimes you'll get an idea now that won't be completed for years, even. Like Katie and I, it's like we have ideas and they're on our vision board and we know it's not a now idea. So, what I would say from that place, and depending on the client, sometimes they like this technique and sometimes they don't like to be told what to do. So, it just depends. Like, if you have a lot of ideas and you're not bringing anything to money fruition, then something here will probably be a benefit, and or you want to have more money fruition and prosperity and profit, then something from here is also going to be a benefit. So you have all these ideas. We're creative beings. We're meant to have ideas flowing through us all the time. Now, does it mean that we have to act on every single thing all the time? No. But well, Katie and I, here we are. Like, I love my planner. I personally love to write things down, to have a vision of the year and maybe even further down, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. And or if you're out and about, your phone. So you're driving, you're getting ideas. Now, what happens sometimes is you take action on all the ideas, which feels very scattering. And then nothing comes to fruition because you're kind of hopping around like a little popcorn ball or squirrel, dog chasing a squirrel, and nothing really lands that people are like, yes, I want that. So there's almost like a lack of like embodiment, is what I would say, of these ideas. We want the idea to land. We want to pick sort of one, maybe two, and then move through it so that it comes to a place of really receiving money for it and either building from there or then having another stream come, right? If we're going to go into a water metaphor.
Yeah. And it's true because sometimes, yeah, if the river is flowing, right, and you're like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. It's almost like you get distracted in the flow, right, in the process of getting to the other side of that river or wherever you're wanting to go. You're too busy looking at all these great ideas that a lot of things actually aren't getting done. And it's the same concept of like executive functioning and setting goals and taking something from an idea into the processes of fruition of that actual idea. If you think about some kind of like project that you started and you said, hey, I'm going to paint my bathroom. And you said, oh, this is a great idea. Okay, so let's paint our bathroom and let's pick out the color first. And you go on to whatever and you pick out your color and you're
I
like, wow,
like
this
this
is a great
metaphor
idea,
already.
right? This is a great idea. I'm going to pick out this teal color and it looks really great. And then you go into the store and then you buy the paint. And then when you're buying the paint, you look over and you're like, oh, actually, I want to paint my whole kitchen, and then you buy more and then you get home, right? Or then you're like, oh, yeah, I
But
also,
let's add the bathroom and the garage and
right. And then the
the
garage. And
car
then also I
and
need
then
to
your
organize my
wheels and your
I need to
bicycle.
organize my garage and do these things. And then you come home with like all this shit and like you just lay on your couch and you don't get anything done. The bathroom doesn't get painted. The kitchen
Or
doesn't
there's
get
like
painted.
one wall or like around the mirrors
Yeah.
painted, and then the kitchen has one door painted, and
Yeah.
then the bicycle has one tire painted. And I mean, that's kind of energetically, I love that you brought this up because
Yeah.
that's kind of energetically what happens. And then we can go into nothing's working.
Yes. Right. Overwhelm. Or
Overwhelmed. Yeah.
we're like, oh my God, I can't get anything done now. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, you sort of sabotage yourself in the process of doing it. Instead, you could have just went through your idea, come to fruition, loved your bathroom, and then admired. It's almost like that admiration of like this project is complete.
This actually brings up, it's a teeny bit of a side shoot, but I think it's going to fit. A dear friend of ours, her name's Andrea Keller. She has a 4D design podcast, and she talks about how to bring architecture into your house by picking one area, not your living room, because your living room is actually kind of a strange area to shift because it's actually made for other people rather than yourself. But she's like, pick a small space and start to like just discover your architectural designing, like what you like in a space. And it's kind of, this is reminding me of like, pick one thing and like let it land. And like for me, it's like my altar or by my bed and like in my room. So I can really feel like nourished, right? With my self help books and my, no, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
my crystals, right? Like I feel that nourishment. But if I were to say, I've got to do the whole house and I got to do it here and here and here, it's like,
It doesn't
I
get
love
done.
her message of pick one place and start there. And it's a very similar energy with your creations. Now, I love having a list. Like for me and my business, it's like I know an app is coming. I know a book is coming. I know these other things are coming. But I also am like, I have the problem, the foresight to say, is it now? No, okay. I don't have to work on that now. It's on my list. It's on my to-do, like in a year or, within the year, whatever that is. So okay, so let's say, Katie, we choose one thing. We choose the bathroom. Now, how do I have that idea and how by choosing the bathroom or that project or the creation, why does that then lead to profit? Or how does that lead to profit? Like what's
Yeah.
that?
So it's like the concept of, right. So if you think about like dreams, like big dreamers, you're choosing the bathroom first, right? To actually like get the profit in first. And then you actually like you have a viable business when you're actually turning over profit. If you're not turning over profit in your business, you're either in the red or you're taking out loans or you're going into debt, which is not always the worst thing. I'm not saying debt is bad. There's good debt and bad debt involved. But when it comes to allowing yourself to come to fruition as an entrepreneur, you really need some kind of positive reinforcement that this is working. Like this is a viable thing. Like now the bathroom looks beautiful and now maybe I need to renovate the bathroom next. It's your really choice. But really, when we think about going from ideas to profit, this involves every idea that you bring to the table in your business, and you bring that idea to the table and you sit down with that idea and you go like, is this what I want to do? Right? Is this actually for my clients? Is this an entirely different business model? Sometimes people will bring an idea to the table and it's like, actually, no, that's an entirely different business. That doesn't even fit inside of what you're talking about right now. So it's steps, right? So step by step, sort of day by day, you allow yourself to go through the loops, right? It's like an open loop. An idea comes, the open loop comes, and then you bring that idea into fruition, whatever that involves, and then you sell the idea, right? Like, and then that happens again and again and again. And then you actually start to get like, oh, look at this. Maybe I raise my prices. Maybe I create a bigger program. Maybe I extend this
Yep.
the way that I'm doing it. Like, you can actually start to perfect that initial idea. You don't always have to take it and chase a squirrel to an entirely new idea. Now, it's true when you have a big vision and a big business, there's going to be a lot of ideas that need to be implemented in your business. So it may be this one service and then another service and then a program and then a certification. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to just be your business only does roofs, right? Like they only do roofs and that's it. We can't even look at the windows. We can't do any of that stuff. But if you get really good at doing that one thing, you actually can start to expand out and really get into that bigger vision that you're wanting to create. But if you get so stuck on not doing the bathroom and then going home and be like, ugh, like you're going to have a really difficult time in business over time. And that's actually often going to lead into burnout for most creative entrepreneurs because it's easy to do. It's very easy to do. And we get stuck in the cycle of like, nothing's ever good enough. That's not going to, I can't do it. Look at me. I can't do it. Look, I couldn't even paint the bathroom. And you actually get into this downward spiral of almost like doing nothing. Right. So we want to back you up a little bit and go like step by step, day by day, allow yourself to come into fruition, allow your ideas to come in, and then sort of allow yourself to also filter, right? A filtering process of, okay, what idea am I going to take first and bring that into life? And how do I do that? What are the steps that are required, right? This is executive functioning. What are the steps that are take an idea into the goal that you're wanting to create? And how do you take those steps and bring them into reality?
Yeah, and I'm getting a sense of like there's when you're a solopreneur at first, you're doing more of the steps. And I think sometimes people can get stuck in the steps that are hard, or they don't like.
Or they
So,
avoid.
yeah, they avoid. So I would have clients and I do a lot by on my own. I hire other things out and I like most of the steps. Like I kind of find joy in all of it. So it's like making the Canva image, adding it into here. Now I'm seeing as my business is growing, there's definitely places to then say, oh, I'm going to hire this out. Like our podcast. Oh, we're going to hire this part out. I don't know how to edit. I don't want to learn how to edit. There's things that you're going to eventually say, I'm going to hire that out. Now, in the beginning, where sometimes you have to do the thing and you have to know, this is something I always work with, and I know Katie does too. Where are my roadblocks? Where will I avoid? Where will I hide? Where will I want to give up? I usually like to give up like 5% before the end and be like, and then like, I learned that
It's
through birth. I was
over.
like,
Like,
yeah,
it's
it's
not over
done.
yet.
And then like you have the baby. I'm like, oh, I did it. Oh, there it was. Okay. Right. It's like
There he is.
if you know your creation cycle, oh my God, you will be successful. You will create it. But if you avoid your cycle or where you get squirreled off, then you will hide, you will avoid, you will go into abandonment because no one liked that first post about your program and be like, well, see, I shouldn't do it. Like there's so many ways.
Disappointment.
Yeah, disappointment. There's so many areas, but if you start to be, it's almost like this strength of like, hey, I'm not wrong because I give up 5% before the end. That's just a place I might have to say, hey, Katie, I'm almost done. Can you tell me I'm amazing? Or like go to my partner, hey, I'm almost done with this thing, but I'm feeling tired. Can you tell me I'm amazing? Or whatever. Like that
Yeah.
I'm past that. But that was my old creation cycle was, oh, this is too hard. And it's like now I've sat with it, I've worked with it, and now I can create the whole dang thing, enroll into programs, bring the product there, have people receive it forever and ever and ever more, and it's creating profit now and in the future. But I had to sit with my abandonment. I had to sit with my disappointment. I had to sit with like, I don't know how to do that step. So I asked for help, right? How many people like you are not alone, even if you feel alone in your business, you are not alone. And sometimes it was gritty and sometimes it was hard. And sometimes I laid on the floor in 2020 crying on the freaking floor because I didn't know how to do something, but you work through it, right? And so this is more of that beginner phase because as that generates more and more and more money, you will be able to hire it out.
Yeah.
But you won't get to that place if you spin off with a million ideas and nothing lands and nothing creates profit.
Yeah, and even like if you are creating profit, but then you're sort of spinning off on what's next level
Mhm.
profit. That is also
Right.
you're bumping up against a
Exactly.
ceiling. And I kind of get this visual too as well when you're talking about this was interesting. It's like invite disappointment to the table,
Yeah.
invite avoidance to the table, and invite anger to the table and frustration and
Yeah.
jealousy and all these things. And what happens when you invite it to the
Comparison
table?
and
Yeah.
shame and
Yes.
like have a
It's like
big powwow.
well, what if you just look at it and be like,
Yeah.
dang, look, I'm avoiding this, or I'm jealous of that, or like, what if you invite it to the table instead of invoking, pushing back against it? Like, oh, I'm so disappointed. I don't want to do this anymore. How many people put out something out there and it doesn't come, the idea doesn't come into fruition and they go into the disappointment cycle, which I always, Andrea laughs at this, but it's like, nobody likes me. Everybody hates
Everybody
me.
hates me.
I guess
It's
I'll
like
eat
Eeyore. I
worms.
just think of Eeyore. It's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah, nobody likes me. Everybody, I'll just eat worms at my table by myself and do nothing. It's like, what if you just look at the disappointment like, wow, that was really disappointing. Why was it?
yeah.
Maybe I'll do it differently next time. So,
I think we did this once in a launch, at this point too, we were disappointed by something. We showed up, we created something, and we just said, I'm disappointed. And we had each other, this like where collaboration works. And it was so valuable for both of us to sit down and say we weren't disappointed in each other. Like it was not
no,
that. It was just like, I'm just kind of disappointed. And it was like
like
so
what happened?
freeing.
Yeah.
Right. We're like, what happened? That was badass? And we weren't judging each other. It was like we both left and I was like, wow, maybe that needed to happen in order to like I don't think either of us had really experienced it then that in that way.
Yeah.
Then we were like, oh, we can do anything. If we can sit with our disappointment and move through it and be like, we're not failures. We showed up amazingly. It was an amazing workshop. And so what if nobody bought the thing that we offered?
Yes.
You know,
Because
it's
the
like,
next
now
workshop
what?
they did. And the
Right.
one
And
before
then,
did
yeah,
it,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to add something that came in with this was, as you invite these different phases, avoidance, I had a big abandonment, validation. Those are older stuff for me. And really being aware of like celebrating through the phases of even sitting with these different that wow, I sat with my avoidance. I did the email, I did the post, even though nobody liked it, I did another one and another one. And then I did a reel or whatever it is. Like, because then when people start to come in, then you could even judge how many freaking people came. Well, only 3 people came, only 4 people came. But I can tell you, I have had 2 and 3 people come to a workshop and then made $18,000 because those 2 to 3 people came.
Yeah.
So, like, I stopped judging that number. I'm like, hey, whoever's coming, awesome. I know that at some point there will be 20 and 40 and 50. And we've had that too.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all part of the journey, right? So sometimes I think we get this idea, it lands, we're going to create a membership, we're going to create a thing, and we expect overnight to have 50 people in it, or we expect overnight to have 100. And it's like, that's like a year in the making.
Yeah. And it's a setup
Don't
for failure too.
Oh,
If your
totally.
expectations are different than what's really going to happen, you're going to expect something and then you're actually going to be disappointed. So if your
Yeah, you're
expectations
almost
are
we would have that too. We're
skewed,
like, "Oh," and someone even like I just did something and I 6 people enrolled and someone was like, "Well, should we work on that?" I was like, "I don't need to work on that. I am stoked that 6 people showed up. They're already purchasing into the next thing, and I'm grateful." Like, it was really fascinating to not be in the disappointment because 6 was fabulous,
yes.
And it was
Yep.
like it's to just be I don't this sounds like mommy-y, but, like, to appreciate who does show up and what does show up, and know that everyone that's out there with thousands of people in their audiences now started where you are. They had 5 YouTube subscribers, and then they had 10, and then they had 15, and then maybe they had, it's like everyone started where you are.
And you know what's even funny? This makes me think of like the rags to riches stories where I went from zero to $1 million in 7 figures. Everyone started at zero. Even
Yeah.
at your birth, like even if you were like
Right,
a
right,
trust
right.
fund
In
child,
your yeah,
you started at freaking zero. Trust me, everybody starts
yeah,
at zero. And
yeah.
everybody doesn't make it to that. But it's the same thing. If you allow yourself the space to let the idea come in and land with you, and then sort of discern that idea and take the idea from step to step to steps to step into fruition, and you close that loop, right? Or you keep it open, right? You allow more sales into that loop, you're going to actually get more positive reinforcement. And then you're going to take more ideas to the market. That's what good entrepreneurs do. They know how to take ideas to the market. They know how to build profit around those ideas. If you leave those loops open and just sort of, oh, disappointment, oh, this thing, you're probably never going to build the business that you really truly desire. So we love bringing this conversation to the table, and it might even be a little bit triggering, which that's okay. Right? It's okay if it feels a little bit uncomfortable.
If
It's
it's
okay.
triggering, then you need to work with us.
Well, if it's right, and if it's triggering, sometimes it's actually a gift to some degree.
Yeah,
Like, oh
yep,
God, that did kind of that made me feel a little uncomfortable. We'll explore that for yourself. It's important
yep.
to look at these things and really to look at them in the eye. And really, when you do that, it allows you to come to pass. It allows things to get different. It allows you to change. So, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Dreams to Dollars podcast. If you vibe with our content and want to find out how to work with us, check out our show notes for the links.